All right. You know what time it is? It is JoJo o'clock. That's right. We got Chapter 6, A Letter from the Past, Part 1. It's 7 years later. It's 1888 now. I guess we were in 1881 before. That's kind of cool. And the chapter opens with a little blurb about Jack the Ripper, who was a famous murderer who would kill women, and people didn't really know why, and that scared them. And it's like it's saying this Jack the Ripper led society into a new era of fear. Yet in this year, another era of fear would begin, one triggered by the battle between JoJo and Dio. And it's like, oh, it's all right. Comparing real world events to your vampire story. Okay, I see. And then we get our first double page spread of the series. It's Jonathan, grown up Jonathan, and he's playing rugby. He's running. All these other guys are trying to get him. They're too slow. And yeah, we got a sports commentator saying Jonathan has the ball. Jonathan's getting pretty. He's got his like war cry going on. He's doing his war cry. Yeah, he's wearing a little rugby uniform, striped shorts. Yeah. And then it says, oh yeah, Jonathan is 6'4", or 195 centimeters, or centimeter people, aka the normal people. But I'm reading the I don't know. I guess this specific version, since it has feet, maybe this was specifically made for America, and like I don't know, maybe like England or something has keeps the centimeters and metric measuring, which I don't know. I would rather have that than dumb feet, miles, all that bullshit. Like, I don't know. I know the rest of the world uses the other stuff. I know the other stuff kind of makes better sense. So I'd rather just use the other stuff than this nonsense. But anyways, Jonathan's running. Someone finally catches up to him, grabs him. But oh no, he's got this smirk on his face. He's still going. A couple more clinging onto him, and man, he's really going for it. They aren't stopping him. But a fourth person clings onto him. I guess that's too much. So he throws the ball, and who grabs it but Dio Brando, the grown up Dio Brando, that is. And he grabs it. He's really fast. And he basically just runs straight for the goal. No one's able to catch up with him. They're like, oh yeah, victory. And Dio's like, we did it, JoJo. The two of us got the win. And yeah, it mentions that Dio's graduating, top of his class in law. Jonathan has a archaeology thesis. So I mean, that's just kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Glad they're going to school, getting their education. That's always good. You gotta focus on that stuff, because that's really gonna change your future. That's gonna change your opportunities. And yeah, the two are talking. Jonathan's like, great job on the finish, Dio. And Dio's like, thanks, but I only did it because of you. And then Dio's like, we must tell Father of our win right away. Let's meet up once we change and head back together. Then Jonathan kind of has a shock. And he thinks to himself, how long has it been since Dio was officially adopted and began calling him Father instead of Lord Joestar? And then he's like, 7 years have passed. Even though we act like it, I don't feel any sort of friendship with him. He's a great guy, but why can't I see him as a friend? Is it because of what happened 7 years ago with Danny and Arena? It was all in my head. There's no evidence he did it. Oh, how terrible of a person I am. And, yeah, Dio gets a similar scene. Before we talk about that, we gotta talk about this really weird-looking guy. Like, the anime made him look even weirder. Just... Why? Why did he have to look so weird? Anyways, they're like, "Hey, Dio, you want to talk about your friendship with JoJo for the school newspaper?" And Dio's like, "Oh, friendship? You make me blush." And then we get this really cool up-close shot of his eyes. He has, like, partial sideburn things for some reason, but let's not focus on that. He's got some really sharp eyes there. And he's like, He's thinking to himself, friendship? What are you fools smiling and laughing about? It's almost graduation. I no longer need support from Lord Joestar. I was only acting friendly towards them till this time came. My plan is to take over the Joestar fortune, and now I'm of age. So, yeah, I like it. We get little blurbs of, like, their inner thoughts, and we see that, okay, yeah, it looks like things between the two are going great on the outside, but, like, Jonathan doesn't think so, and Dio definitely doesn't think so. So that's kind of cool. We get a really good scenery shot. It takes up the entire page of just the carriage going back to the Joestar mansion, and it looks pretty good. It's snowing. The snow effect kind of looks weird. It just looks like negative space, honestly. But well, it's a cool little scenery shot. Get some trees, little pathway. It's pretty good. George is in his sick bed. He is sick, and he's wearing this cool little pajama thing. It looks kind of nice. Jonathan, he's wearing, like, this striped jacket. He's got a cute little bow tie there, sweater vest. We don't really get too great of a look at what Dio's wearing. It looks like some sort of tan jacket ensemble. Windsor knot tie. But anyways, they're talking, and Dio's like, "How are you feeling, Father?" Oh, you know, that lined up really well, because, like, George is coughing. And, like, I just coughed. But anyways, it's like, much better. Can't seem to shake this cough. But the doctor told me I should go to the hospital. And he was like, "The hospital? Oh, you mustn't go there. All they're gonna do is take your money. You're better off here." Interesting you say that, Dale. But he's like, "Yeah, well, I turned him down anyways. I feel better at home." And George says, "My chest pain is gone. The swelling in my hands has gone down. Feeling a bit better." And Jonathan's telling him to get well soon. And Jonathan's thinking to himself, he's like, "Oh, wow. This just started out as a cold, and it seems like it's getting pretty serious. I should have studied medicine instead of archaeology. But, well, he should be able to recover, right?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, congratulations on your victory." And they're like, "What, you heard?" And he mentions, like, an old friend of his came by and told him, and Dio's like, "Oh, what a rotten friend. We dashed here straight home just to see your smiling face." Then they all share a big hearty laugh, and George is like, "Oh, I heard you did particularly well, Dio. Do whatever you want post-graduation. I'll always support you. Your family, after all." And we get another close-up shot of his eyes. Looks really cool. He's got the weird sideburn thing again. Not sure what that's about. It's only showed up in this and the other close-up shot. But, yeah, it just looks really sinister. I mean, see another close-up of his face where he's saying, "I was born into poverty, but you gave me a chance at life. I hope to continue making you proud." Hey, so it's me from later. I just wanted to comment real quick because it kind of slipped my mind. But, like, this image of Dio where he's talking about how he's born into poverty, right? It looks like the way his neck is drawn. It looks like he just isn't wearing a shirt or anything. I don't know. It just looks kind of weird. And it's just like, I feel like it's really meant to just convey that Dio's kind of full of shit, because he is. Like, it's also showing that he's up to something, that he's got some sinister plans going on, and even Jonathan seems to notice something's up. And yeah, we cut later. It's later that night. Looks like we got another page shot of this bookshelf library area where you see a big crate on the top. But anyways, Jonathan has a stone mask, and he's using his own blood to activate it. Looks like he's been doing some research on it. And he's talking about how Dio would tell him archaeology wouldn't make him money. And he's like, oh yeah, well, you got a point there, but ooh, this mask really gets the gears turning, really makes me wonder just how this is possible. Which, I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like a mask should just be able to pop spikes out like that. And he mentions that he's the only one who knows about it and all that. And he's pondering to himself about the people who made it, why they did it, what it was used for. And he thinks about his mom and the fact that she bought this right before she died. And he's just curious about it, You can kind of tell why he went into archaeology now, because of this mask and because of how it relates to his mother's death and how it does this really weird thing that can't really be explained. And he's like, when I figure out its secret, might not be on the level of Darwin's theory of evolution, but it just might become an academic sensation. And as he's putting away his books, he accidentally, bumps the top of the bookshelf, and, that giant crate from before falls down. And he's like, whoops! Oh well, that stuff wasn't worth much. And in the rubble, because, the crate fell over and a bunch of old books came out, he found the letter that Dario mailed to George, asking him to look after Dio. He's like, oh, Dario Brando, huh? That's Dio's dad's name, huh? I wonder what a dying man would write on the verge of death. I mean, it's an old letter. I guess they wouldn't mind if I took a peek. Then he reads at it, and we get this really cool panel where he's just in utter shock. There's this staticky effect in the background, where energy's just bursting from his brain. It's like, what? And yeah, it's a really cool looking panel. I also want to comment before I move on. He's got a different jacket. I can't believe I didn't notice this before. It's got a cool design. It kind of reminds me of wheat, kind of like wheat grains. Yeah, he's got a cool looking plaid tie. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And the next scene, we got Dio. He's wearing a white buttoned-up shirt with a vest over it. He looks pretty sharp. And, yeah, he's taking George's medicine up to him because the butler says the stairs have gotten hard on him due to his old age. So Dio takes it up. We see another close-up shot of him. He is up to something. That's kind of our signal that he is up to something. I like that. That's really cool. And we see he takes the medicine off of this platter, and he puts another package on the platter that looks pretty similar to it. Then Jonathan's up there. He notices this, and he's like, "Hey, what did you do to Dad's medicine just now?" And the two have a stare-off. These two manga panels, they kind of look like the two panels in Chapter 1. They're kind of mirroring each other. It's like we see just Jonathan's left eye in the top panel, just Dio's right eye in the other panel. They're facing opposite of each other. It's a really cool effect. It kind of shows they're on opposing sides here. Kind of again shows the difference in their facial attributes, like the shape of their eyebrows, shape of their eyes, their pupils, their hair color. It just looks great. And then he mentions 7 years ago, your dad wrote a letter to mine, and I happened to find it. Why don't we take a read? I am afflicted by illness. I shall surely die, I know it. I don't know what's going on, but my heart is pain, my fingers are swollen, and I can't stop coughing. And Jonathan is kind of pissed. He's like, hey, this is the same symptoms as father. What's going on, Dio? And Dio, ooh, this is probably the best one yet. He just has this really sinister look. His left hand is up by his face. I'm not really sure what he's doing with his left hand. I don't know. I guess it's kind of just a cool-looking pose. And, end chapter. Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. We got a cool little end chapter image, where, like, it's Dio, but, like, part of his face is hidden by his hand? It's kind of cool. Kind of shows that he might be hiding something. I don't know. I like stuff like that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a good chapter. Looks like Dio's might be doing something pretty serious here. This this arc is only like 2 chapters long, so like you might remember the anime. The second episode is called A Letter from the Past, like this arc. And it includes this arc and includes the next arc, which is the Stone Mask, which is basically everything with like Jonathan and Ogre Street and Dio using the mask on that one dude in the alleyway. And they kind of just combine that in one, which is understandable, but like, I don't know, this is kind of its own little mini arc. I guess I'll be treating it that way. And, it's a good one. It's a good chapter.